Hey guys, it's Taylor, and in today's video we're talking about 3 tips that you've definitely never heard of for getting over your fear of public speaking to become a confident, solid, highly paid speaker. Now, before we get into it, I want to tell you my experience of speaking for the first 3 years was horrible. I was terrified. I would get a red neck, blotchy skin, sweaty pits, dry mouth. I would feel nervousness, anxiety, imposter syndrome. The experience that I had with speaking was absolutely horrible. And I want you to take these tips, implement them into your speaking career so yours doesn't have to be as horrible and you can just have more and more fun when you get on stage making the big bucks. And before we get into these 3 tips, I want to say again, it's Taylor from thoughtleader.com. That's thought-leader.com. Make sure to subscribe to this channel, like this video so you can get more videos on making your speaking career a massive success. And one more thing before I get into the tips is this: the feeling that you experience on stage, the feelings, whether they be nervousness, anxiety, and the physical accompaniments like the dry mouth and the sweaty pits and the blotchy skin like myself, whatever it is that you feel on stage, it's actually the feeling that we're aiming to conquer. We're not actually trying to get you over a fear of standing like on a 3-foot platform and talking to people. We're trying to get you over the feelings, the fears, the anxieties that you experience when on that 3-foot platform. And there's good news. You don't have to be on that 3-foot or 5-foot or however high your stage is platform to feel those feelings and therefore have an opportunity to move through them, to get used to them, to be friends with them, and therefore be comfortable with them so that when you get on stage, you can feel them and do your talk anyways. You can feel those feelings at almost any place in the world. And that's what these 3 tips are all about. So tip number 1, or I should say the place number 1 that I used to practice getting over the feelings that I would have when I was on stage was airplanes. Airplanes, or any public space, are amazing opportunities to practice feeling those uncomfortable feelings and going through them anyways. When I would go on an airplane ride to go and do a speech and I would feel nervous and anxious, days before a talk that I was actually going to do, I'd get on my airplane ride and I'd force myself to go to the front of the plane. So I'd walk to the front of the plane, I'd turn around, and therefore I'm now looking at like 300 people on this plane, right? AKA replicating the experience that I have on stage. Because when you're on stage and you're facing a whole group of people, 300 people that are facing you, that can be incredibly horrifying because we as human beings are not typically in that situation. That would be a threat to us as human beings. Facing a whole bunch of people that are facing us is like potentially imminent death back from the caveman days, right? So I would go to the front of the plane, face the entire audience, and then I would people on the plane, face the entire plane audience, and then I would do what at one point in my life was totally unthinkable. I would do these deep, slow lunges all the way down the entire aisle of the plane. Like, I'm serious. I'd be walking down the plane like this, deep lunge, right beside these people, deep lunge, and then I'd look people in the eye. Up, deep lunge, look that person in the eye, look that person in the eye, see what they're eating for breakfast. And I would do these deep lunges all the way to the back of the plane, because what that would bring on for me was all the feelings of I'm not belonging, the whole community thinks I'm crazy. We're tapping into deep parts of our nervous system that have evolved over tens of thousands of years to not do things that are out of the norm, to not do things that the community would look at bad upon or down upon, look at us like we're crazy. And we're doing them on purpose so we can get used to those feelings come up. And again, doing our talk anyways. So I do lunges all the way to the back of the plane. I might walk back to the front of the plane or do lunges to the back to the front of the plane, do it all again. I would do it until I stopped feeling nervous, till I shed that feeling of, oh God, everyone's judging me, because those feelings can be absolutely overwhelming. And here's the payoff. The payoff isn't, by the way, getting in your seat and then not caring if people think you're crazy. The payoff is this incredible endorphin rush and solidity and confidence that you have because you now don't care what people think. You now are you. You now put your talk, your duty, your message, the thing that is in your head and your heart meant to be out in the world, you've put that above the fear of criticism, the fear of not belonging, the fear of being the crazy person in the bunch. When you put your message above anything else, there's something that happens in the university, or I guess just in your body, to give this amazing endorphin rush and prove to all that is that this is the most important thing in your life and you're willing to do anything because of it. So that's tip number 1. is next time you get on an airplane, do airplane lunges. Or if you're not getting on an airplane, do lunges in Starbucks, do lunges down the street, do lunges on some sort of a stairway at a corporate conference that you're at. Do something to push yourself outside your comfort zone, get that massive endorphin rush, and tell the universe that the most important thing to you is your talk. That's tip number 1. Tip number 2, this one has more to do with actually practicing your talk, but practicing your talk, again, in a situation where you're going to feel all the feelings that you might feel on stage. And the best total speaker hack of all is doing your talk in an environment where you're not only going to feel the feelings that you're going to feel on stage, but you're going to feel those amplified, right? So if out of 10, when you get on stage, you're a 7 out of 10 nervous or an 8 out of 10 nervous, the best thing you can do is put yourself in a situation where you're doing your talk, but you're actually at a 9 out of 10 nervous or a 10 out of 10 nervous. You might be asking, how do you do that? Well, this one again has to do with traveling. I just used to do a lot of traveling, speaking all over the world. I spoke at the United Nations 4 times, in Costa Rica, in New York, at Harvard, Princeton, Cornell. So I was flying all over the world doing these talks, and I've spoken on 5 continents. So I was on a lot of planes and in a lot of airports. And how to leverage these travel days to better your speaking career is an absolute art. What I would do was, I remember one time I was in SFO, so San Francisco Airport, and you know those long walkways, those moving walkways where you can just walk and they're kind of rubber and you stand on them with your luggage and it just moves you a little about the pace of someone walking, and then you get off and walk a little bit and get on another one. Moving sidewalk, I think they're called, right? What I would do is I put my bag in the corner. I asked this woman to film me doing this so I could actually prove it. I've got footage of this. So I wasn't traveling with anyone, I didn't know anyone. She said, yeah, go ahead, I'll film you. I went to the top of the front of the moving sidewalk, stood on the moving sidewalk sideways, so I'm moving like this, across the moving sidewalk, and I forced myself to do my entire talk out loud at the tone and pace and volume that I would typically do my talk, the talk that I was really nervous about doing, right? On the moving sidewalk. Now, what does that do? Again, it does something similar to the lunges on the airplane where it makes you look like the crazy person, which brings up a whole bunch of feelings inside us. And number 2, it allows me to practice my talk in the midst of those feelings. Anyone can practice their talk walking around their freaking living room or staring in the mirror in the bathroom or even doing it in a cold shower. Very rarely do people take anxiety and nervousness to a whole nother level and practice their talk while they're going through it. To veer off from these tips for 1 second, why is this so important? The reason this is so important is because that message, if you're watching this far, that message is very important to you. You, I believe, have a duty as the carrier, the channel of that message, to be as in your body, present, authentic, on stage as humanly possible so that that message can flow through you into the audience and into the world. Chances are you feel called to share this message, and you sharing this message clearly, articulately, and with presence is of absolute paramount importance. You don't want to get on that stage, be totally nervous, worrying all about you, because if you're worrying about you and your feelings and your experience, you're not sharing and serving the experience of the audience, because all of your focus is here, when in reality, your focus should be open and outward on the audience. That's why this stuff is the most important thing this is the most important work you can do as a speaker, is getting comfortable in your own skin so that when you get on stage, you're sharing that incredible, beautiful message that is meant to flow through you into the world. So tip number 2 is next time you're in an airport and you got a moving sidewalk, stand on it sideways, do your entire talk. By the way, I had to go on this sidewalk 3 or 4 times to do my entire talk because it is a short sidewalk. Do your talk in an environment that gives you a heightened sense of the sense that you would have on stage, or heightened experience of the same experience that you would have on stage. And then by the time you get on stage, it's like you're walking into your own living room. You're just like, hello everybody, my name's Taylor. I'm gonna rock this talk right now because I'm so comfortable in my skin. Because this ain't nothing compared to the moving sidewalk in SFO with everybody judging me. If you do your talk in front of people that don't want to hear it, imagine doing your talk in front of people that you do want to hear it. It's a much more welcoming room. So that was tip number 2. And tip number 3, you might have thought, okay, this is getting a little bit extreme. I'm probably not going to do the airport lunges or airplane lunges. I'm probably not going to do the airport talk. And that's totally fine. As long as you push yourself outside your comfort zone, ideally at least once a day. That could be like going to Starbucks and just laying down in the lineup and just timing it 30 seconds. Then getting up and ordering your grande, frappuccino, whatever it is that you can do, wearing tights, gold tights down the street, standing on a park bench and doing your talk when there's other people in the park that are wondering what you're doing. Things that push you outside your comfort zone so that your comfort zone expands and therefore the stage ends up becoming within your comfort zone so you can be present and authentic when you do your talk. But number 3 is the king of all speaking hacks, and that is nude modeling. You heard me right. At one point, I heard that the town that I was living in, Encinitas, California, had this community center, and they had art classes that would happen in this art community center, and that they were looking for nude models. And I remember feeling this incredible rush of anxiety. Just the thought of sitting up there naked in front of a whole bunch of people that I did not know while they stared at my body and drew it with charcoal was absolutely terrifying. So I signed up that night. A week later, I rode my little scooter in the cold, which matters if you're a guy, you know what I'm talking about. Drove my little scooter, especially if you're gonna be naked, drove my little scooter in the cold to the frickin' community center. I walked in there. No one told me that I was supposed to bring like a robe. And they're like, yeah, where's your robe? I'm like, what are you talking about? This is my first time doing it. And they're like, okay, well, just take off all your clothes, put them in the corner, and you can sit on that cold wooden chair. Again, everything's very cold in the room. So I take off all my clothes, put them in the corner, walk very cold to the chair. I sit on the chair, and they give me this direction on like how I'm supposed to sit. And it wasn't some flattering pose, like sit back and just chill like a gangster pose. Apparently they don't really like painting bodies like that. They gave me the butt back, like almost like the thinker pose, kind of like this one, the butt back thinker pose. Not a good pose when you're naked and a man who's already cold. Okay, I'll get over that. But what that did for me, the having to sit there for literally 3 hours, I got a break, but I didn't have a robe to put on, so I just walked around the room naked. Sitting there for 3 hours with a room full of strangers staring at me, critiquing and drawing my body with their charcoal, or one guy was actually doing a painting, which turned out quite nice, I think, was it brought up all of those fears, and it gave me the opportunity, the container, the space to sit in them, So often when these fears and anxieties and nervousness come up for us, we want to run away from them. We want to run away, we want to escape them. We might escape them by having some food. We might escape them by watching TV or Netflix or YouTube or whatever it might be. We want to run away from these feelings. And us, you and I, as professional message sharers, speakers, orators, the reason that we get on that stage is far bigger than us, right? So when we have the opportunity to sit in those emotions and not only be okay with them, be somewhat more comfortable with them, but to actually make friends with them and to integrate them inside our being so that when they come up, it's not just like, oh God, I'm feeling nervous again. It's just like, yeah, that's part of me. That nervousness, that anxiety, that fear, that trepidation, that horrified feeling of getting on stage, that's part of me. It's now integrated back within me. And therefore, when I go on stage or when I go on some sort of a tour, I can sit in those feelings, I can actually enjoy those feelings, which is kind of like the crazy next level stuff. And regardless of what I'm feeling, I can get on that stage, I can speak from my heart, I can share with honesty, with authenticity, with presence, and make sure that everybody in the room feels me as much as humanly possible. So those are the 3 tips for getting over your fear of public speaking. Number 1, airplane lunges. Number 2, airport moving sidewalk speeches. And number 3 is nude modeling. Now that you've watched these, you can see the continuity. In reality, what we're trying to do is interrupt the pattern of nervousness and anxiety and replace it with one of confidence, freedom, authenticity, and presence. So if you like this video, make sure to click the like button. And if you're a speaker, put in the comments down below which one you are most likely to do. Nude modeling, airplane lunges, airport, moving sidewalk. Type in the comments which ones you're the most likely to do, or if you have other ideas for other people to do that just pushes them outside their comfort zone, put that in the comments down below as well. Again, it's Taylor from thoughtleader.com. That's thought-leader.com. Thanks for stopping by and good luck in your speaking career. I'm here to serve you any way I can.